right now. Perfect.
There you go.
Okay, so again, Smart Home Choice is a full-service investment club. We do lots of things. It hosts lots of events, and we do this all for you guys, of course. So I just want to introduce the team real quick. There's Quentin on the left of me, Gary on the right, Kathy, and Darlene, who is our mortgage specialist. And we've got our two young friends in the admin, right? Sierra and Adelaide. And they can help you guys out with any questions should you not be able to reach any of us. But you know what? We're a phone call away. We're local, and we're always ready to work with you guys. So I just want to tell you a little bit about our upcoming events because as
Okay, noise going to be.
hold on. I'm gonna have to mute a few people here.
Oh, here you. 14 people. But see people that if you want to go on, you can. If you want to go again.
Perfect.
Hey guys, if you're not talking, could you guys just mute your mics?
Yeah, I think I got most of them muted here. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, pretty good. Okay, so yeah, upcoming events. So we've got we always have lots of things going on, but wanted to highlight a few. So our Oshawa property tour for this weekend is actually sold out. There may be a few of you. I know a few of you have been calling and asking about it. So at this moment right now, it is sold out. If there's anything that does change, we may be able to bring you in tomorrow. But so this is a tour of Oshawa we're doing. We typically do tours of Oshawa, Peterborough, and the areas. We will also be doing another tour. And we'll probably do a few over the summer and of course into the fall. But we're going to take you guys out to different properties, 3 of our investors' properties, because it's always great to show you guys what the investors are doing. And you guys can ask all the questions you want of the investors. We're bringing out the contractors. We're bringing out the property manager. We're bringing out a few other folks as well that will help you guys. But you don't have to take it from us. You can actually ask the questions of them directly. So it's always great to see the work in progress and be able to speak to the investors who own the properties and who are actually doing the work. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we're also going to, of course, take you out to some available properties as well, some stuff that you may want to pick up or invest in. So it's always a lot of fun. We have a great group of people, great like-minded people. So we definitely like you guys to come out to, if you can get on this one, it might be tough, but at least the next one and going forward. We've got a beginner investor class for some of you beginners out there. That's going to happen on June 5th. We normally do it started at 6:45 at the Ajax Community Center. This is Gary and I. It may be Quentin and I who may be doing the fast start in this case, but we take you through all of the basics, everything you need to know to get your investment career started really quick. Right? There's very little questions that we do not answer. We will actually have a Peterborough tour. That's going to happen on the 8th of June. Sorry, this is a Lindsay tour, rather, on June the 8th, on Saturday. So that's going to be a lot of fun because a lot of you guys are not familiar with the Lindsay market. But I believe that it is a place that, contrary to popular belief, I think it's a place that is on the up and up, on the rise. So anyways, it's going to be the same kind of thing. We're going to show you some properties, some investor properties. We'll show you a few. We'll bring out some contractors and so forth, and some folks that will help you guys turn your properties from what they are to stars, right? To diamonds. Coming up, we're
not to give too much away, but that's going to tie in quite nicely with Kathleen's presentation tonight.
Yes, absolutely. She's going to wet your whistle a little bit. Then you guys are going to come out and you're going to start picking up properties. What's that?
You're giving the secret away.
Exactly. Well, look, we also, as you guys know, are deep into the city of Peterborough. We love Peterborough. And with that in mind, we're going to have our good friend from the city, Brad Appleby. He is going to be hosting a lunch and learn with us on Thursday, the 13th at noon. Now, I'll tell you this, the lunch and learn that we did with the city of Oshawa was incredibly popular. We had a huge gathering of folks for the lunch and learn. You know what? I'll be honest, it was even better than I had expected. And I expected this lunch and learn on the 13th of June will be just as good. And Brad Appleby, he's actually the guy that ultimately put through the bylaw to allow basement apartments in the city of Peterborough. So believe me, he knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. Our mastermind, which is our large event, this is going to happen on June 19th. We do this at the Ajax Casino. And take a look at some of the experts here that we're bringing out that evening. On the 19th of June at 8 p.m., we're bringing out Alex Bell. That's our insurance guy. Grant Hayes, that's our property manager out in Peterborough. Howard Tavroges, he's one of the paralegals that we work with. Jerome, he works with us doing tenant screening for Neighborly. Ryan Carr, some of you guys know his name, of course. He's very famous for lots of small projects around Oshawa. Actually, you know what? Pretty large, actually, projects around Oshawa as well. And Tador, he is also another investor specialist that we work with. So we're going to have a fun-packed night. And I guess we're talking about 10 steps to evict a tenant on the panel, which is going to be a lot of fun because Howard doesn't only tell you the good stuff, he tells you the bad stuff because he wants to make sure that you guys are fully prepared for how to deal with tenants. You guys want to know what we're doing and what's coming up and when? smarthomechoice.ca/events. That's where you have to go to pick up or to find out about everything that we're doing. All right. We always have something going on. So make sure you check it out. Because again, this is all about you guys, about education. So we have a free download also for some of you guys. Definitely take a look at the website and you can pick this up. You can download. What is this? This is Gary, your guide, isn't it? Tenant screening made easy.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Right. And it's really simple. Once you go to the website, just put in your name, email address, and simple as that, it'll be in your inbox in like a couple seconds.
Beautiful. All right, good stuff. Great download because you know what, of course, tenants, right? It's always something we hear about. All right, for the main event this evening, the live webinar, remarkable rentals, terrific tenants, continual cash. I see what you did there, Kathleen. Double R, double T, double C. Yeah, that's fun. I like that. I'm into snazzy titles too. All right. So with that in mind, let me just give you a quick intro about Kathleen, if you would. Well, Kathleen, you've been with us for quite some time, right? You've been working with us for a good number of years, I believe.
Yeah, a couple of years I've been a member. For that, less so, but came to some events. So always good.
Beautiful. Well, so anyways, you're a wealth of knowledge. You've been in this game for quite some time. You evidently pride yourself in, I think you do anyways, you pride yourself in helping clients, do you not?
Yeah, I'm a financial planner by background, right? So.
All right, good stuff. So, okay, financial planner background, you pride yourself in helping clients create phenomenal wealth, and you have a lot of fun doing it. You specialize in working with individuals and families to improve their monthly cash flow and build significantly greater wealth compared to the current status quo or their current approach. And unlike most financial planners, you also include real estate strategies, which is true because some of you guys know you go to the financial planner, they're talking about RRSPs mainly, life insurance sometimes, but they miss out on the real estate strategy. So that's fantastic. And your current focus is on purchasing, developing, and managing small multifamily properties and offering investment partnership opportunities to friends, family, as well as business clients. So, Kathleen, evidently together with your husband, you own 16 doors, and 6 of which are legal basements or have legal secondary suites, right? So that's
Correct.
all going to tie into what you're going to talk about tonight. Am I right? Good stuff. So, without further ado, I'd love to pass the mic over to you. So I'm going to make you presenter, and I'm crossing my fingers that we get this right. Let's see. Kathleen, there you are. All right.
Looks good.
Looks good? Beautiful.
Can you all see my presentation?
I can see. Can you see yourself, by the way?
No, I cannot. So.
Well, you look fantastic.
Oh, there I am.
Oh, you got yourself. Good. You have to
I
show me how
need
to do it.
to. I'm just gonna close that. Okay, perfect. Okay, well, happy to be here this evening. I was pretty excited when Gary asked me to do this webinar. I have been doing things a little bit differently, taking what I call the road less traveled. But I seem to feel like I've sort of hit a great formula, and I'd love to share it with everybody here. So when I first went down this road of really trying to grow my business, I found that most people were focusing in Oshawa. They were focusing also in Peterborough, and they were looking at that sort of 60s bungalow, something that might be dated. I found, a couple of years ago, there was tons of competition out there. So there was multiple offers and things like that. I had put bids on places that wouldn't be able to get them. The affordability factor was something. I was really scared about sketchy neighborhoods that I'd heard about in Oshawa and in Peterborough as well. I didn't know or understand the neighborhoods. And I felt that when I went into some of these places that they had an undesirable tenant profile, not really kind of what I wanted. So what I did was I went to Lindsay, and I focused very much on putting in secondary suites in what I call a secondary market. I think Peterborough's awesome, Coburg, Oshawa, Bowmanville, I think they're all great. But when I went to Lindsay, I found something very unique, and I didn't seem to have the same competition, and I really liked what I was doing. Just a little bit about the fundamentals of Lindsay. I think that they're strong, but I don't think that they're necessarily as strong as what we hear from a Peterborough or an Oshawa or Bowmanville, but I still feel that there are some definite positives. The population is very small, 21,000 as of the 2016 stats. There's no university there. There is a college, but it's only a satellite college of Peterborough. It is, however, the center for Kawartha Lakes region, so all the government jobs are there. It does have a hospital. It's smaller than the Peterborough one or the Oshawa one. But I think what's key to remember here is it's only 43 kilometers away from Peterborough, and away from Whitby is 70 kilometers. So it's not so remote. It's not like necessarily like a Timmins or a Napanee kind of thing. It's exactly the same distance, oddly enough, to the 407 once the 407 is extended. It's the same distance to the 407 as is Peterborough. So if one of the things you're saying is the 407 is going to change the dynamics of Peterborough, it should also be changing the desire and dynamics of Lindsay as well. This is just an example of the 5 properties that we currently own in Lindsay. The first one we bought here, believe it or not, was only 1 year old. So not even 2 years. Brand spanking new, still under Terrian warranty. And the following year, we bought the top 3 ones. Now, if you look closely, they look very similar, don't they? And in fact, they're the exact same model on the exact same street. It's number 20, number 24, number 48. The bottom one is the last one that we just purchased. We just closed on it May 15th. That was a joint venture partnership. The upper ones were joint venture partnerships as well. This one is walking distance to downtown Lindsay and the hospital. So pretty excited about it. I just wanted to go over some of the very, very attractive price points. The first one we bought, $335, unfinished basement, spent $70 on the reno. The next one we bought, $375, so that's how much the prices had kind of gone up in a year, and spent $75 on the reno. The next one we purchased more. I paid a premium because it was the exact same footprint, so I knew what I was doing. The basement was finished, so I only had to spend $30K on the reno. Then we got one for $380 with $40K. That was the best deal so far. And then the one that we just bought, $375, which is very similar to what we bought in 2018. And I'm anticipating that it's going to be about $75K for the reno. What's interesting to note is every one of these properties, I never had a multiple offer situation. 3 of them, I was able to negotiate a price 10% below list. 1 of them was 5% below list. The last one, we actually paid list. It was a bit unique, but what we did was it was actually already under contract, someone, but they had a condition of selling their home, so we went in and kind of scooped it. So very attractive price points. And so with the 5 houses now, some people have nicknamed me the Queen of Lindsay. So I've become a bit of an area expert, which is something I really advocate for. If you know your area, you know your streets, you know what rents you can charge, you know what the fair market value are of the prices, you know your costs of the renovations, you know how quickly you can do them. I've had tenants that have backed out and then reapplied later. So I have tenants that will come back to me, applicants that will come back to me. So I'm getting a handle on them. Or they'll refer their friends, right? Because I have more than one property. So if they take one unit, they might be referring their friends for another one. One posted the vacancy in the hospital because she works in the hospital. They often ask if anything is coming up. So I've really gotten a bit of a reputation, excuse me, in Lindsay for having the 10 units that I have. So I buy pretty. And I don't know if it's because I'm a girl, but I really like these pretty houses. These are just an example. I mean, cathedral ceilings, modern colors, stainless steel appliances, but the houses are less than 5 years old often. So really what I'm buying are pretty houses in nice neighborhoods, as Gary likes to call them. And what that means in a town like Lindsay is that there's a very high demand because there's a lot of lower quality rentals, but there aren't a lot of nice rentals. And I rarely have a vacancy. I've had 1 vacancy for a month, and that was in the winter months. So this is a picture not of anything that I've experienced, because the houses I bought were 1 year old, 3 of them were 5 years old, and the last one was 10 years old. So not only am I buying pretty, but I'm buying properties that have great bones. They're newer. I'm not going to run into roof issues. I'm not going to run into foundation issues. I had a property in Pickering, had a flood. I have a property in Whitby, it had a flood. So I don't really have any surprises with these ones being so new. They're extremely well insulated. So you'll see the insulation right through the basement. Basements are really warm. The heating bills and cooling bills are much lower, high efficiency furnaces, and very small yards, so not anything too difficult to tackle in terms of lawn maintenance. I have amazing tenants. I have a postal worker. I have a retired couple, the brother-sister. I have the brewmaster for Bob Cajun Brewery. I have a high voltage electrician. I have a young veterinarian, a nurse, a farm insurance underwriter, a manager at a store. I have 1 student. 3 of the properties are very close to the college. However, I'm not really in the student market. So, but this gentleman sold his home and is taking a master's program. IT specialist, a pharmacy assistant that works at the hospital. And all these people have great income, they're upwardly mobile, and they have very stable job security. So I'm definitely able to get A++ tenants. And I get things like, you know, they'll paint the foyer for me. One built a deck off the back bedroom. I get pleasant comments from the neighbors saying that they're shoveling their driveways in the winter. So I've never been to the landlord tenant board, knock on wood, So I really feel like I'm getting amazingly terrific tenants. What's the cash flow look like? So these are the properties. So the first one I bought, and I have to say, every time I do this, I feel like I've undercharged because people are saying that they're the nicest ones around. The first one, 14 up and 13 down. And then the next one is 16 and 14. The next one is 1650 and 1350. This basement, we didn't do as much to it, but this one transitioned over, was able to raise the rent successfully. 16 and 14. This one is actually 1650 because I rented out the garage, and I'm expecting to get 14 for the basement. So really great. All of these properties are cash flowing about $1,000 a month, every one of them. The uppers rent very, very fast.
Hey, sorry, go back. I mean, those are incredible numbers, you know, because just going back to the previous slide, you know, like Lindsay, people aren't really familiar with the area, and those are pretty good rents. But I mean,
they are really nice properties and top rents. Where I'm getting the same rents as I am in my Whippy location.
Isn't that incredible, huh? And that cash flow is incredible too. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it.
And the cash flow is very much a function of
Kathleen,
their secondary suiting it. Yep.
And Kathleen, quick question. So for those rents, is that plus utilities or is it just plus hydro? What is that?
They're all plus utilities.
Wow.
They all pay their own utilities.
Wow.
I'm never ever going to do a situation where I include utilities again, because I just don't want a cost that I can't control. Mm-hmm. And they don't seem to balk at it.
Yeah. Well, I think is what you've also been experiencing is a shortage of vacancy. Am I right?
Yes, and quality vacancies too, right?
Yeah,
like seniors don't. They want to live in something nice.
Right. Okay. Good. Hey,
everybody wants to live in something nice. They have the money, right? So.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I just needed to remark on that, you know, and plus utilities on those rents. Fantastic.
Yeah. So of course the cash flow really is a function of the fact that we specialize in putting in a secondary suite. This is just a typical of the picture of the entranceway. So the downstairs tenants, their entrance would be at the bottom. And then what we do is we'll put a wall in here and do a separate entrance. So they enter through the foyer, they have a foyer, and then we put in a private entrance to their unit. We are really, really quick at putting up that wall upstairs and that fire door and putting the upstairs tenant in. The upstairs tenant is in before we even commence working on the basement. And they're happy to live through the construction, to be honest, because they're happy to get a place that is really nice. And we like to have quick turnaround, 2 to 3 months of the basement. But yeah, that way the property is basically covering itself right from day one. So the specialty of the secondary suite addition, I'd really like to focus a little bit on that and explain why that's such a amazing contributor to what we're doing here. You know, if you want to go out, if you like the idea of 2-unit dwellings and you go out and try and find an existing duplex, I think you're going to have a lot more competition. There's a lot less available. And if the property has been run as a legal duplex for any period of time, it might be more run down. And you're dealing with the pre-existing tenants, which if they've been in a while, they're going to have lower rents, and it will be very difficult to get rid of them. Although we're going to learn about that next meeting. So what we do is we're buying single-family homes. So the amount of single-family homes that are duplexable, there's so many more of them. And when we create that legal secondary suite, we've got that forced appreciation. If you get something with an empty basement and it was a 2-bedroom, now it's a 4 and a legal, you've got all that forced appreciation. Even if it had pre-existing bathroom and bedrooms, the fact that you put in a kitchen and made it legal you're going to get forced appreciation. And what we're able to achieve with that is we're able to achieve top rents because these places are so nice, and you're going to get greater cash flow. We're really trying to create the best and highest use of the property. Lindsay has very few legal accessory apartment dwellings. I have to say, working with the town has been a dream, absolute dream. And people have told me Clarington is awesome, but they're not as awesome as working with Lindsay. Yeah. They're really great because they want the housing, they want the people, they know there's a shortage, and they want to solve the problem. So they're very good to work with. So as Krista mentioned, I am a financial planner, so that's my kind of day job. But I do strongly believe in income properties, and I do really believe that RSPs are not delivering, and I'm not really pro RSP. There are certain situations. I think RSPs are a great savings tool, but they are not a wealth creator. So what came out of that was I was helping people get properties, but now I realize with the prices appreciating, they really need to be in that secondary suite market, and it can be a little daunting. So out of that came our new company, Housegeld Property Management Inc. And Housegeld is Dutch, and it stands for house money. So because I have a Dutch background, so that's how I came up with that name. So what we do, just a little bit of our experience, is we have 9 investment properties, 16 doors, 7 duplexes, and we actually did 6 of the secondary suite conversions. And of the 6, 4 of them were joint ventures with investment partners. We've been actively investing since 2008, and our specialty is really purchasing those single-family homes and adding that legal secondary suite. I think when it comes to any deal or any transaction, there's 3 pieces of the pie. There's the money, the people, and the deal. So what we're looking for are money partners that have the down payment for the purchase and can qualify for the mortgage and the renovation money. Our specialty is finding properties that can be held long-term, that can be converted to a legal 2-unit. The last thing we want to do is make the mistake of buying something that we think we can convert, but we can't because ceiling height is too small, or you're not going to be able to achieve the parking, or it's in a floodplain, any of those mistakes. We don't want to make those mistakes. We want properties that are positive cash flow, and there's a huge demand for the rental units with an amazing tenant profile. We have the team, we have the contractors in place, the renovation expert, the property management, the tenant placement, all that. So that's really what we offer. We offer the deal and the working partnership, and we split the profit and the cash flow. This is an example of the last deal we did that we floated out. So the list price was $375. Down payment was $75, and the renovations are estimated. So the investors really looking at about $150, and the expenses $1,750, rent $3,000. So the monthly cash flow would be $1,250. And it is possible also to be able to refinance once you're done and get some of that $150 back, but very, very strong cash flow. This is the typical person that might want to look at working with us with a joint venture, someone that's too busy or they're unexperienced and they want someone else to execute the strategy. They prefer having a physical asset over RSPs. They are looking for an additional income stream. I mean, the fact that these properties give you money in 3 ways, really: cash flow, the mortgage pay down, and the appreciation. And they're looking for someone that has a power team and experience, and they can leverage our use. So just in conclusion, I know we all want to be watching the Raptors game shortly. It's okay to be a little bit different. There's more than one way to become wealthy and income properties. I feel that what I'm doing is a little bit different, but I really like it. If cash flow is the focus, I think that the strategy has amazing properties, terrific tenants, and great cash flow. And I've just become a little bit of an area expert. And I guess the last point is that you really don't need to do it alone. A joint venture partner might be an excellent way to kickstart. And with that, I'll put it out there to questions.
Yeah, beautiful. Kathleen, that was fantastic.
Beautiful.
I mean, I know a little bit about Lindsay, certainly. You know, I mean, I'm up there, but you know, it's always good to have an area expert, and you're obviously playing Monopoly out there. That's pretty good.
3 houses on one street, yeah.
And you know what? And it's not even Baltic Avenue, right?
No.
You're actually a little higher up there. You're at like Tennessee Ave or something, and so that's actually really nice properties. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
can I ask you, you were investing in Bowmanville, and you said Whitby. Did you say you had a one in Pickering as well?
I used to have one in Pickering originally. That one was sold 3 years ago or something.
So,
which I regret. You always regret the one you sold.
Well, of course you do, because then you kick yourself, right? But
yeah.
What took you to Lindsay? I know you went through some of the pros and so forth, but when you were looking, what took you up that way?
The very first one I bought was when the market was just peaking. It was December, and I think the market peaked in March and April of the following year.
Yeah.
And there was nothing but crap out there and multiple offers. And I just found this great property, and the newer ones have amazing ceiling height. I knew it could be duplex, and I didn't even know that the cash flow will be great, but I'd been looking for a year to purchase a property, and I had the funds. And so that's when I decided to do that. I'm not afraid of that direction. We go up to our cottage all the time. So, but then I realized like the cash flow was just so much stronger, and the properties were much easier to work with. And for me, like as a woman too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And my husband has been involved off and on. It depends on his work situation. But as a woman, I don't feel that I can necessarily look at a building mechanically as he can. So I felt much more confident about my decision.
Sure. Yeah, well, good.
So
I mean, you had comfort, cash flow, right? A lot for you. A lot of things were clicking, and they made sense.
Yeah.
And now you're reaping those benefits, right? Which is great.
No, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Listen, we're gonna open the floor to questions, guys. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat box, and we can throw some questions at Kathleen as well. So
feel free to unmute yourselves as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. You guys can unmute yourselves and throw some questions in there also. Okay, well, we got a question though from Avery. It's cash flow looks great. What's the appreciation rate, would you say, in Lindsay?
That's something that I don't think you're going to get the same appreciation factor as you would in other places, but I think that it will come. But don't forget, I'm probably paying 60 to 70,000, maybe even more, actually, considering the age of the property, less than Peterborough or Bowmanville. But you don't have the same strong fundamentals. I found that when I went to go reappraise the properties, the appraisers weren't as savvy in Lindsay as they were in other places. So where I had no basement and I added 2 bedrooms, they kind of priced me more like a 4-bedroom house versus a legal 2-unit accessory dwellings, because they just didn't have the comparables.
Right.
But that's starting to change. But I see a lot of properties that are similar to mine going for much higher, like going for 450, if people are willing to hold out.
Right.
But I've also found that you can get deals. So for instance, the last deal, the gentleman was moving into a home. These houses, by the way, they're very small bungalows. Mm-hmm. So many of them are only 2-bedroom, and if they are 3-bedroom, the third bedroom is very small. So they're very suitable to a senior. And seniors will transition out at times. They will either pass away or they'll need to be going to a home with more care. So those people are very motivated. People are less motivated, they're getting the higher prices. So it's kind of all over the map, let's say.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? There are a lot of new builds up there as well, right? And
Yeah.
they're very pricey. Right?
They are. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a question. How much time would you say for, in your experience, how much time do the rentals take?
Well, we are very quick in that we have a team, and we basically, I'll give you an example. This one we just bought, closed May 15th. It's already rented, by the way. It was rented before we even closed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You guys got the renter upstairs. Beautiful.
Yeah. Chris and I went up and we did a showing. Yeah. We had a viewing, we did a showing, and we signed the lease that day. That was the veterinarian.
Yeah, the vet and the IT guy.
Yeah. So that tenant is going to move in June 1st. So the upper unit, we've got 2 weeks, and they'll be in the upper unit. Mm-hmm. The lower unit, I anticipate 2 months because it's a blank screen. So no more than 3.
Yeah, and you did say working with the city was pretty good. So you're pretty comfortable or confident with that 2 or 3 months time period.
And they're confident with us too.
Right.
I've heard him say, yeah, they've done it before. They know, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, sure. I mean, after a while, you know them,
Kathleen,
they know you.
Yeah.
And Kathleen, not to get too technical on this call here, but in regards to the bylaws there, and specifically on parking, is there any kind of frontage required, and how many parking spots do you need?
You require 3 parking spots, but they could be all 3 in a row. I personally will probably, I like to widen the driveway so the tenants aren't needing to knock on the basement, but you don't need to do that. You could have 3 in a row. And the lawn frontage is 30%.
Okay, 30% of the, so it must 30% landscape. Is that basically?
Yes,
yeah. Good. I mean, otherwise everything else applies. Regular building code applies. Ceiling height 6'5" and right, everything else. Now, in your place, the new one that you just got, that one added an unfinished basement, right? Totally unfinished, right? So how do you feel about that? Because a lot of times we go into these places and the basement's already kind of quasi set up, and a lot of people, to be frank, for whatever reason, are a little bit nervous about unfinished basements. What do you think?
My preference is an unfinished basement, to be honest with you, by far. The problem is that if I go into a finished basement, I gotta pay more, right? Mm-hmm. So I just bought for $375 a 2-bedroom unfinished basement. But if I was buying a 4-bedroom with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom in the basement, I'd have to pay a lot more. And I'm not saving a lot in renovation money because I've got to rip down the ceiling. Yeah. And they're very concerned about fire code. So one of the last property, they basically made me drywall all of the walls with 5/8. So even the walls and the drywall that were there didn't really help me much.
Okay.
So you're better off to go into a blank slate.
Yeah, sure.
Because you can get a better deal on the property.
Yeah, better deal plus a better layout in the basement too. Better use.
Probably, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But it's funny that you say that because the 3 properties we bought on Beale, the 2 that had basement bedrooms were in the exact same spot, and so was the bathroom, which makes me think that the builder might have.
Is she gone, or is that just me?
I'm still here. You're still here. And she's frozen.
She's gone? All right.
Oh, that's going to be funny in the recording. Yeah. Well, listen, I was going to
Yeah,
ask.
but
What's that? Oh, she is gone.
yeah, are there any
I'm
more
here.
questions?
Oh, you're back. Oh, you're back. There you go.
No, she's back.
Okay. All right, you're back.
Did you get
No,
my
we
answer?
didn't,
Hey,
no, we
Kathleen,
didn't catch the last bit.
I had a quick question.
Yep.
Go ahead, go ahead. What? No, go
No,
ahead, Gary.
oh, my question?
Yeah.
Or finish up what you were going to say, Kathleen, and I'll jump.
I'm not sure if you heard my answer.
So,
The builder had put the bedrooms in the same spot, so I just did the same layout.
Okay. So, Gary, you had a question you were going to say?
and Kathleen, the question that I had, was, with myself, Chris, and Quentin, and the amount of years that we've been investing in real estate, we're always kind of looking for that next market. So you've obviously found something great up in Lindsay. Are you starting to look now, just in the future, a couple of years down the road, to say, well, here's my next market, or are you just so content right now with Lindsay that you haven't even looked that far into the future yet?
I heard something interesting about Kingston, that Kingston is opening up their doors now to legal secondary suites, that they didn't do that before. And the price point there is can be very attractive, especially if you're like a little bit further away from the university. I'm going to be looking at that. It's much further, so it'd be more difficult to be more hands-on, but it's doable for me to put a team there. And like Renee, who you had speak on student rentals, he's based out there too, so I was thinking about touching base with him on that. But it really depends. We're very much growing our joint venture partnership for investment opportunities for clients. So it's really going to depend on what the joint venture partner wants and needs. So if they are in it for more long-term appreciation, I might consider still something Durham-based. But if they are looking for cash flow, well, Lindsay's still really strong, but I might look at another market like a Kingston for sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'd ever go to a Timmins and but who knows, right?
I have another question here, and so the homes that you had picked up, and maybe this is for all of them for that matter. Homes listed on MLS, or how did you find them in particular?
Every single one was on MLS.
Okay, yeah.
That's the other thing. That's an interesting question. Everybody's saying like, because it's hard to get these good homes, right? But everything was on MLS and everything was like negotiated.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Whereas there's I don't know, the buzz is now is if you want something in Durham that you somehow need to get some sort of private deal because of the competition, but you don't need that if you go out to a Lindsay or even a Peterborough, I would say. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Gary, any other questions? Anything that you think?
Well, I like the fact that you haven't been to landlord and tenant board. That's great,
Yeah.
especially in Lindsay. And I mean, the tenant profile that you're going through when they're coming to the property, do you find that you're going through a few tenants before you pick the right one? Is there a lineup of people? What does that look like when you're doing your screening?
There are a lot of undesirable applicants, for sure, up in Lindsay. It's very bimodal, the have and the have-nots. So, but hang out and wait for that great tenant because they're out there and they're looking for nice properties. So.
Now, your property's a good chunk of
So screening your tenant is important.
Yes.
Yes,
sure.
and with that, there's the plug. Go pick up Gary's tenant screening guide, smarthomechoice.ca. You like that, huh?
Yeah.
All right, but listen,
Exactly.
Some of your
I knew you'd finish it for me.
Some of your properties by the hospital. So, I mean, obviously by a hospital, you would think that's helpful. Is that what you've seen? Is that what you've experienced?
I've only just bought one, and it's walking distance to the hospital. And that's the one that the veterinarian IT. But I know that she can walk to work because the hospital in Lindsay is on like the main strip of Kent Street. So the one that's close to the hospital is also close to downtown, which I guess is where the vet is located. So it's close to everything, really.
So, I mean, you know, you talked a little bit about the fundamentals, of course. You've got the hospital there. You do have the college, rather, right? Fleming College. And I know a little bit about Fleming College just because I've done some of the research, especially with the Peterborough market. But at Fleming College, at that location, it's a lot of the environmental studies, and they do have a lot of the international students that come. So what's good about that location, and I think it's just like anywhere else up that way, with Peterborough for that matter. When you're dealing with a lot of student rentals in particular, I know this may not be your game, but a lot of people are looking at the 12 months of rent versus, you know, the 8 months of rent of some of the older guys who've been in the rental game a long time. And that's what we're seeing a lot of. And I know this because, again, you know, just having some couple of clients that are into student rentals, 12 months seems to be the going time frame for rentals in that market, even though it's a smaller market, which is actually pretty good. With the international students, though, they're not going home either, right?
Right.
Do you have any knowledge of student rentals at all at this moment?
I have some knowledge. I mean, I've had some students definitely apply. I would say there's a demand to rent out by the room. I've been asked that. I don't do that. They typically want to pay around $500 to $600. So let's say you got 600, you'd really be looking at 4 bedrooms. So you'd be looking at 2,400, where I'm getting 3,000. On the other hand, I have to do the renovations. Sure. So possible. Like, there's definitely a demand for the student rentals. It just, when you're buying houses that are so nice, do you really want the students kind of in there? And the neighbors are, you know, upscale lawns and things like that. So, but yeah, there definitely is a demand. I get a lot of calls for it.
So, question from Mark: do you place your tenants yourself, or hire a property manager to manage your portfolio?
I do place the tenants myself. There's something about, I want to see their faces. I want to see what they're wearing. I want to see the car they drive up in. I want to talk to them. I just feel like I can't give that aspect away. I may at some point give some aspect of property management away, but that's the one I seem to be hanging on to. I haven't found a property manager up there. And I think too, because when I'm dealing with joint venture partners and their money, I think it's even more crucial that like the tenant that you pick, in my opinion, is almost more important than the property, because they can make or break the whole experience. I know what I'm getting with the property, especially when you buy newer, but it's the tenant that you really got to do your research. I'm gonna look at your book there, Gary, for sure. So, but use a neighborly screening for our first go at it. I actually use Neighborly as a bit of a tool as well. So if somebody calls me and I know that what they're saying they're undesirable, I'm really adamant about the Neighborly, but they might not have a computer, or they might not have the web, or that kind of stuff. And so it can discourage the right person. Sure. And I always say we're going to do a criminal background check. So that kind of scares them off too. So.
Well, it's good. I mean, you've got your tools, you've got your experience.
If anybody's interested, I was going to say, if anybody's interested in learning more about Neighborly and what Kathleen's talking about, they're going to be coming out, like Chris mentioned earlier on in the call, at our next mastermind event on June 19th. So make sure you get your tickets for that. And I just got one last question for myself. And I know we had a conversation about this, Kathleen, in regards to particular areas in Lindsay where you do have to be careful purchasing properties. And so maybe you can talk about that briefly, but also it's a statement to say that, you know, for anybody on the call that's thinking about going to Lindsay, just because of those properties and those locations of where they could be, you don't want to pick those properties up. So I definitely highly recommend that you reach out to Kathleen first before, you know, you go out there and try and figure this stuff on your own.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. There are 2 streets in Lindsay, and the streets are named McGee and Matchett, and they're very close to where I've been buying. And they're on a very low water table, and they have constantly had flooding, and they're bringing out big O-rings out of the basement to get rid of the water. The city has not transitioned the land from the developer back to the city. They won't take over until this issue is resolved. So those 2 streets have a huge stigma, and I won't buy there. And you don't need to buy there. There's other places to buy. So don't buy there because of that issue, because you could have flooding or foundation issues there. So
yeah, a great point, Gary and Kathleen. All right, so look, guys, in the interest of time, I think we got to kind of cut this, but I do have one last question for you, Kathleen. It's reference to your JV partnerships. What's your typical expected holding period? You doing 5 years? You doing more? You doing less? What do you typically work with?
All my JV partnerships have been a 5-year contract, but I'm very flexible. If they want to buy it out, that's fine. If they want to sell, that's fine. Because if I need money, I can always sell on my other properties. So, but yeah, it's a 5-year kind of term, which is really kind of marries up with the mortgage time frame as well.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you very much, Kathleen, and of course, Gary as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. Reach out if you have any questions.
Great job, Kathleen. Great job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, listen, guys, her email address is right there on the screen. So make sure you reach out if you want to know a little bit more about what it is that she's doing, how to JV, and how to partner with her. And as far as it goes for us, smarthomechoice.ca, that's where you can catch up with any of us. And that's where you can get your dose daily, monthly, yearly, hopefully more than yearly, but your dose of real estate fundamentals and investment fundamentals. Okay, guys, so listen, I'm Chris, and thank you very much all for joining. And enjoy your evening tonight.
Go Raptors, go.
Yes.
Go Raps, go.
All right, bye, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.